Hello, hello, everybody. Happy Sunday and happy May. Kind of crazy how fast that happened. I can't believe it's already May. Sounds like Lottie can't believe it's already May as well. You're barking out there. Um, yeah, so today we are chatting about scales. This is something I get a lot of questions on, so I thought I would do sort of a relatively quickish video on scales, sort of what to consider when buying a scale, things to look at, why you might end up needing more than one, depending on the kinds of things that you like to make. But yeah, before we dive in, I just wanted to say that the Humblebee Me YouTube channel hit 80,000 subscribers earlier this week, which is crazy and amazing. And thank you so much for all of your support and for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would super appreciate it if you did, because I would love to hit 100,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. YouTube apparently will send me a snazzy plaque if I hit 100,000 subscribers. So that's woohoo, free home decor. Yes. But yes, scales. So kind of thing number one I like talking about with scales is why you need one. Because it often ends up being, I find, a little bit of a hurdle for newer makers. Most people will already have, measuring cups and measuring spoons in their homes. And so they want to see if they can kind of make do with those rather than a scale. And I 1000% want to say you need a scale. Some things you can kind of get away with measuring spoons with, so something like a powdered face mask where you're using all kind of powdered clays and stuff, you can kind of get away with it, but it's still better to do everything by weight. Our materials can differ in density so much that working in weights is really the most accurate way to go. Significantly fewer dishes to do as well. You don't have to wash every tablespoon and cup and everything. You're just kind of putting your container on your scale and then adding things and then hitting tare and then adding more things, and it's very easy. It also makes scaling things up a lot more reliable. You might find that a formulation that you're making works really, really well in volume, kind of the first way that you make it, and then say you try to double it or triple it and something kind of goes all cattywampus on you, and that can just be the flux that you get from volume measurements. They become a lot more reliability the larger a batch is. So yes, 100% recommend buying a scale. You don't have to spend a lot of money, and it will pay for itself over and over again in terms of reliable results for your formulations. So when we talk about a scale, there's tons of things that can kind of get a little, you're looking at the description going, oh my gosh, like there's so much here. What matters? What doesn't? What am I looking for? And so a couple big things. Number one is units. What kind of units does it do? It should do both metric and imperial. You should be able to toggle between both. And if it's only going to do one, I would say go with metric rather than imperial. I know many of my readers are American. I am not American, I'm Canadian, so I'm a big fan of the metric system. It's what we use here. And I know the vast majority of the world, with the exception of the United States, does use the metric system as their official measurement system. But also just the metric system is a lot more friendly for small amounts of things, and usually when we're making things, we're making small amounts of things. I've got like a little dish over here. So there's a test batch of something I was making. I'm thinking it'll be a lip mask when it's done. We'll see. But yeah, this is like a 10-gram batch, and so that's 1/3 of an ounce. So measuring out 1/3 of an ounce is kind of a pain in the arse, but lots of decimal points. It's doable if you really, really, really like your imperial system, but I'm a big fan of the metric system, and I highly recommend you try the metric system as well. So that's it. Units, imperial, and metric. If you can only have one, I highly recommend using metric. Measurement increments. So I would say bare minimum, you want a 1 gram or a 0.03 ounce increment at minimum. Some scales only do a 3 gram increment, which is 0.1 ounces. And for our purposes, that's really not very useful. If you're making a 10-gram batch of something and you can only measure things in 3-gram increments, this is not great, right? That's not very compatible. 1 gram I would consider to be your absolute minimum for making cosmetics. But you would do a lot better to go down to 0.1 grams. That'll make your life a heck of a lot easier. And if you really like making tiny batches of things, so you really like making makeup or working with expensive actives, I would recommend 0.01 grams. So you'll notice that in the description of the scale. It'll kind of tell you what the increments are. Next category is maximum weight. How much heavy stuff can you put on the scale before the scale starts screaming at you and or breaks? Some of my scales will kind of go if you put something too heavy on them, and then some of them just like flash this like, no, overload, and you're going, oh, sorry. So yeah, the maximum weight is also very important. You can kind of imagine that if you are making a big batch of something, a scale with a very low maximum weight is not going to work. And I would like to note that the maximum weight of that the scale can handle includes the weight of the thing that you're weighing into. So if you have a pot on top of a scale, that pot is going towards that maximum weight that the scale can handle. So make sure if you're making soap and you've got a great big sturdy soap pot, make sure that the scale that you have for making soap can handle not only great big sturdy soap pot, but all of the oils that you're going to be adding to that soaping pot as well. And then the last one is the sort of battery and or power cord. So most of my scales are battery powered, and then I also have this one here, which is the My Way i700 that has room for batteries, but I don't think I have any batteries in there right now because I predominantly always use it plugged in. There's benefits to both, obviously. Scales that are battery powered are very, very portable. So, easy to sort of move around, put away, bring out of cupboards without, faffing around with plugging and unplugging. Problem with battery powered scales, though, is that they will often have an auto shut off time, and that can sometimes bite you in the backside when you're weighing something and you're weighing really slowly, you're adding a little bit and a little bit, and then this does not auto shut off. So that is good. I'm seeing that my connection is unstable. Okay. Fingers crossed we're back. Yeah, so watch what that maximum auto shut off time is. Sometimes you can disable the auto shut off time. So it's just another thing to be looking at in the description of a scale when you're looking to buy one. So I'm gonna hop over to the chat here and see people from Puerto Rico, Montreal, New Zealand, California, from Missouri, MO, that's Missouri, right? Pretty sure it's not Montana. You guys have a lot of M states. From London, so thank you so much for tuning in, guys. If you have questions, feel free to throw them in the live chat as well, and I'll work on stopping as I go and answering them as we go along. Okay, so what should you buy when you first get started? I would recommend something that is inexpensive and versatile. So I've had a bunch of scales from a brand called Smart Way. I only have one right now. But that's kind of where I got started. Smart Way sells a variety of scales that go up to 5 kilos, which is quite a lot. This is about 10 pounds. It's a pretty high maximum weight. And they go down to 0.1 gram increments. So that's a great scale to start. And that's usually like 20-ish bucks. A little cheaper in the States, a little more expensive in Canada. The Canadian dollar right now is really quite weak compared to the American dollar. And it usually is a little weak on the American dollar. And then with everything that's going on right now, it's like really weak on the American dollar. So most of the prices I'll be giving you are in Canadian dollars because that's what I spend. That's what I'm familiar with. So if you're American, you can just kind of like round that down by like 20 to 30% to get a better idea of the cost for you. So yeah, if you are just getting started, I would recommend getting a inexpensive Smart Ways A brand that you can get. There's several of them available on Amazon. Scale with a maximum weight or in the 2 to 5 kilogram range with a precision of 0.1 grams. And I have linked to some of these in some FAQs. I've linked in the description box below. So that's a good place to start. Chris asked, do I know if you can disable the auto shut off on the JSR 200? I don't know. I should really look into it because it drives me crazy. Yeah, that's a thing that I should look into for sure. If you are making soap, I highly, highly recommend honestly just like a straight kitchen scale. So this is my soap making scale. So this one does up to 3 kilos in 1 gram increments. And I also have one that just lives usually in my kitchen for baking with. It goes up to 5 kilos in 1 gram increments. I only use these for soap making now. When I first got started, I did use them for other things, but as I have reduced my batch sizes, as I make so many more things, and I'm working with more ingredients that need to be used in smaller concentrations than I was when I first got started, these scales have just become soaping and or baking scales, but you can get these very easily, often even at a grocery store or a department store. I have one I really like from Costco. So these are great for soap making, not a whole heck of a lot else. So that would be a 0.1 gram scale with a at least 3-ish kilo maximum weight. That's where I would start. If you are making soap, grab yourself one that has an even higher maximum weight. And there's something to be considered too about the size of the scale, right? So if you have a soaping pot that's like a great big soaping pot, you are not going to be weighing out anything into that soaping pot on this scale. You wouldn't be able to see it. So that's another benefit of one of these bigger scales, nice and big. And also the platform keeps the pot up off the display. So I can put the pot on here. And then if I need to kind of just bend down a little bit to read the display, I can do that. If you really like making makeup and smaller batches of things, I highly, highly, highly recommend getting yourself what is often called a jewelry scale. And again, if you are newer to things, no need to spend a ton of money. I think this little Smart Way scale was in the $15 to $20 range, and this goes down to 0.01 grams with a maximum weight of 100 grams. So this is great for making makeup, making tiny batches of things, because when I make lipstick or eyeliner, I'm making like a 5-gram batch of something. So the more precision you have, the better. Now, if you want to spend more money, I would say start with something less expensive and wait until it stops working. This is a piece of advice I've often seen recommended for tools. You know, if you're going to buy like a hammer or a wrench or something, buy an inexpensive version first, and then if you break it, if you use it enough to break it, then it's worth investing in something more expensive and more durable. If you don't use it enough to break it, then it's probably fine for your needs, right? So no need to like go straight to the primo line. But after you have broken a couple scales, you might consider investing in a few other things. And we will talk later also about how not to break your scales, because that's also a good thing to know. Yes, so you can start spending a bit more money on scales. So the ones that we've looked at now have been in that like $15 to $25 range. If you want to spend more in the $50 to $100 range, you have a couple other options. Some of the brands that I like, I've had really good luck with Jennings, and I actually have a couple of these. Of this exact scale. And so this is pretty similar to this, but it has twice the maximum weight. So this can go up to 200 grams instead of up to just 100 grams. So that I have been it's very useful. That extra 100 grams makes a big difference. And then this one goes up to 400 grams. I actually, for some reason, don't use this one all that much. I just don't end up reaching it for all this often. But it's a My Way one as well, and then this is my Way 700. And so these scales from the Jennings and the My Way brands, I've had those scales since I think 2016 or 2017, and they're still going strong for me, and I use them a lot. So you can find the exact model numbers and links to places to buy them in some of the FAQs I've linked below, but I think this one was about $70 US. I bought this from Lotion Crafter, but you can also buy this brand from a shop in Canada. I think it's called CanadaWay.com. Yeah, I'll have to add that to the description box later when I confirm. And you can also get them on Amazon. And then same with the Jennings one. I got this from Lotion Crafter initially, but it's also available on Amazon, and I believe both .com and .ca. So good options there if you want to spend a bit more money. They do tend to last a lot longer. Chris says he loves the My Way KD 8000 for soap making. Yeah, if that goes up to 8,000 grams, I'm guessing that's kind of what the name, the 8,000 there means. That's amazing. I'm guessing that wasn't an inexpensive scale. And then No Time was asking if I'll save this live. I will. I absolutely will save this live so you can rewatch it at your leisure. How not to ruin a scale. Don't put really hot stuff on a scale, and don't set your scale up next to a source of heat. So don't put it like right next to a hot plate or an oven or something like that. Ooh, Chris says that the KD 8000 is only 53, presumably US dollars, on Amazon. That's pretty good. Usually, the more precise the scale and the higher its maximum weight, the more it ends up costing. So you can get a scale that is, precise to 1 gram and goes all the way up to 5 kilos for $20. But if you wanted a scale that goes up to 5 kilos and is accurate down to 0.01 grams, you're going to be paying a lot more than $20 for that. So that's often why I choose to have a variety of scales. I'll have some that are more precise, that have lower maximum weights, and I'll have some that are less precise, but have higher maximum weights. And that works for me, which is kind of, I guess, what matters to me. It works for me. All right, so how not to ruin a scale. Don't put hot stuff on it. Don't move it while it's on. I have seen so many scales used in group workshops just die such fast deaths by having participants share them and constantly picking them up and moving them while the scale is on. That's a really good way to ruin your scale and really confuse it. So yeah, turn it off before you pick it up and carry it around. And don't put stuff on it that's way too heavy. That maximum weight there, they mean it. So don't go putting something super, super heavy on a scale that is only good up to 100 or 200 grams, or you'll blow it out and you'll ruin it as well. I also wanted to talk a little bit about related investments. One of them is really lightweight containers. So if you are relatively new to making, there's a good chance that you're using a lot of Pyrex measuring cups to work in. They're easy to find. Chances are you already have some, and they are great, but they're really heavy. If you put a pretty much any kind of Pyrex measuring cup, regardless of size, on a scale with a maximum weight of 100 grams, you're going to blow that baby out of the water. So if you if you want to be working in smaller batch sizes, I really recommend investing in some lighter weight containers. So I have, and I'm sure you've seen some of these in my videos, I have little glass prep cups. I have small glass beakers in the 50 to 100 milliliter range size, and the beakers are a much finer, thinner glass than the Pyrex cups. So they also heat up and cool down much faster, but they also don't blow out the scale. And then for even lighter things, I use things like condiment cups and little tiny mixing cups that you would use for, like, say, measuring out cough syrup for a child. They're really useful. And Liz says for dry things, I use a paper cupcake liner. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's super, super easy as well. And then you can just compost the cupcake liner when it's sort of met the end of its life, and those things will weigh about as much as a sneeze, and are easy to come by. So yeah, that's awesome. Sometimes I'll use little bits of parchment paper as well, depending on kind of what I'm weighing out. And the nice thing about parchment paper and the cupcake liners is that you can kind of fold them up and like funnel like if it was a powder or something, you can funnel the powder into your container and carry on. So that's really useful. Another awesome thing about condiment cups is that they usually come with lids. So actually, here's an example here. This is something I made like a month ago now. But I kind of wasn't sure about it, and I didn't want to make it in a beaker, because when I make things I'm not sure about and I leave them in a beaker, they end up living in the beaker for a really, really long time, and then that beaker is out of commission until I decide what to do, which is sometimes an embarrassingly long period of time. So if you make it in a condiment cup like this, they come with lids. You can put a lid on it, and then put a label on it, and then leave it. And it's sealed, and it's not using up any of your glassware, and they stack quite nicely. So yeah, these are really, really useful as well, not only for being really light, but for being a great place to store things that you just want to kind of keep an eye on, but you don't want to occupy precious glassware with it. Yeah, so Sophia says that's missing a label. I know exactly what it is. It's actually sitting on top of a label off screen, kind of like almost like a board game. But yeah, if I was going to be just stacking that on a shelf, I would definitely make sure the label was attached to the thing. Chris asks, what's your experience with glass versus plastic beakers? I don't think I have any plastic beakers. I'm just like looking over at my beaker shelf over there. I have some sort of little plastic measuring cups and whatnot. I don't use plastic very much because its low heat capacity really irks me when I'm working with melting things. I really like how slowly glass moves. So if you're blending pigment into a lipstick base or something like that, or trying to bring a butter mixture to trace, I really like how slowly glass moves. It heats up slowly, it cools down slowly. Silicone and plastic tend to heat up quickly and cool down quickly. And that just doesn't give me a lot of working time. So I don't use a lot of plastic for that sort of thing. I have a couple little plastic measuring cups, and I'll usually use them for weighing out, like say baking soda for putting in bath bombs, just because they're a little bit larger than the little glass prep cups I have, and I usually use quite a lot of baking soda when I'm making bath bombs. But yeah, no, they don't get a lot of use from me. Okay, well that is all the talking points I had for scales here, and I didn't want to make this crazy long. Hopefully, if somebody's not here for the live, they can still find this to be a worthwhile thing to watch through. But I'll just kind of give it a moment to see if anybody has any questions they want to throw into the live chat before we wrap up. While we wait for that, I'm going to nerd out about something kind of non-formulation related that I'm way more excited about than I should be. I saw a post on Reddit last week about cleaning the bottom of stainless steel cookware. You know, it sometimes gets a little like gross and dirty after years of use. You can clean it with Barkeeper's Friend, and oh my god, wow. Some elbow grease required and some like soaking time required, but I bought most of my pots and pans and like cookie sheets and stuff used. I'll choose something that's really good and really sturdy. But it's often been heavily abused by whoever owned it before I did, and it looks it. And no matter how much scrubbing I've done, nothing has ever dented it, and now Barkeeper's Friend is denting it, and this is my new quarantine cleaning obsession. I am scrubbing lifetimes worth of grime off of stainless steel pots and pans. And oh yeah, the glass in my oven door with Barkeeper's Friend. This is absolutely not a sponsored Barkeeper's Friend thing at all. I'm just having way too much fun making like really dingy old stuff look shiny and new again. And I don't know, if you're looking for some new quarantine cleaning to undergo, it's pretty fun and more fun than beating carpet outside, which is another thing I have tried, and I need a better carpet walloping increment. Yeah. All right. I've got a couple questions here, and then I think I'm going to sign off and leave you all to have a lovely Sunday, and I'm going to go scrub some more stainless steel things and make it shiny. Faye was saying, I seem to always be concerned with how much ingredient liquid gets lost on spatula, etc. Should I not worry about that as much? There's no way around that, so make sure you're scraping off as much as you can, but the incremental amounts, not a lot you can do. It is worth noting that the amount of loss is likely going to be fairly static, like regardless of batch size. So if you're making a 3-gram batch of something and then you scale it up and make a 500-gram batch of something, chances are the amount of loss isn't going to be proportionate to the difference in batch size there. So just say if you're working with something really, really small and then you're working on scaling it up, you might consider that loss might be more of a factor there. But generally speaking, not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it other than just, trying your best. So I wouldn't, don't let it keep you up at night. She also says, I do not live without Barkeeper's Friend. And we can be Barkeeper's friends together. Let's see here. Sophia Girl, Amazon makes it kind of hard to find 0.01 gram scales. Try using the term jewelry scale. That might turn up more of what you are looking for. Paula's asked, which of your shampoo bar recipes are best for oily hair? I would try the one with Rasool clay, the chocolate Rasool clay pressed one. It's pretty awesome. Sophia Girl, it's Barkeeper's Friend. It's great. It comes in a bunch of different formats. There's powders and liquids, and it's great. Russell says, I found AliExpress a great place to buy scales. That's awesome. I've only shopped with AliExpress a handful of times, and I found that while the prices were amazing, I was quite off put by the length of shipping time. But if I recall from earlier in the chat, Russell is in New Zealand, so I think things from China probably make it to Russell a lot faster than they make it to me in Canada. But I have definitely ordered things from AliExpress for their Singles Day, which is November 11th. Great big, it's like their Black Friday, huge sale. And then they'd show up like sometime the following summer. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what's in here. Like Merry Christmas from Past Marie. Let's see here. Sophia said, I recently found Germall in powder form. Should I mix it myself to be able to use or only use what powder recommended? I would say follow the manufacturer recommendations on that. They will be lower than the liquid form, if I'm recalling correctly. So just make sure you're following that, what they recommend. And so if you're following a formulation that calls for 0.5% liquid Germall plus, but you only need 0.1% powdered Germall plus, and make up that additional 0.4% with water. Distilled water, or you could probably just use propylene glycol or propanediol or vegetable glycerin, because the base of liquid Germall plus is propylene glycol. So that would be, I think, a compatible thing, but definitely follow their recommendations on how much to use. All right, well, that was a relatively short one this week. I am thinking about doing a studio tour next week. What do you guys think? I would kind of like, we're in my studio now, and I would just sort of carry you around and show you how I store things in my studio, show you how my lighting works. You can kind of ask questions about maybe how I keep things, or if you just sort of see something, go, oh, what's that? Like, I want to know. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing next week. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. I know I haven't done a really full studio tour since I moved. Twice, actually. I've moved twice since the last studio tour I did. So this would be a little bit shiny and new and interested in stuff. Okay, well, it looks like there's a good amount of interest in that. Got a quick question there about shampoo for increasing volume. Check out my Silky Volumizing Shampoo on Humblebee Me. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to sign off. I hope you guys all have an absolutely lovely Sunday, or what's left of it, or Monday if it's already Monday, wherever you are. I don't know if you want to see before and after pictures of my stainless steel cookware. I guess follow me on Twitter. All right, have a lovely, lovely day.